We have breaking news this afternoon. Let's go to the news desk, which is really just the other side of this. Here's Chris Watkins.
Here's Chris Watkins. This is from the SF Chronicle, and it has been confirmed by one Jeff Passan. San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler has been let go and will no longer continue with the team. So Gabe Kapler is officially out as the Giants manager.
Very recently, you had management, the front off, not management, but ownership basically saying that, yes, Farhan Kapler will be back. Then yesterday on Bay Area radio, Farhan Zaidi was asked about Gabe Kapler, and he would not say, he'll be back.
Yeah, wouldn't say anything. Would just say, we're going to evaluate everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That usually sounds like, your days are probably numbered. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be tomorrow, but
interesting.
At that point, you kind of knew that, it was going to be tossed up there. And I think that this is definitely surprising for a lot of people.
Yeah. Andy Baggerly was writing today in The Athletic about most of the players are not saying bad things about Gabe Kapler before this happened behind his back. So it was hard to get a sense of
how the locker room truly felt. Yeah.
Yeah. But there had been rumblings that some of the players were not too happy. And some of that is just losing, but also the relatability. Players don't like it when you get pinch hit for in the third inning, stuff like that. So I think a lot of that contributed to it. And maybe to a degree, he's being used as the fall guy here.
Scapegoat.
For this really, really disappointing
kind of feels like
half.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like Gabe Kapler really did this team underperform? To me, the roster kind of looks like around a 500 roster to me. I know they have higher expectations for that, but when you look at the tools that he was given, I don't necessarily know if the Giants I feel like it's more their expectations were off.
I don't know what they'll say, and maybe we'll never find out the real reason. But from what I know, I think what happened ultimately is, you're right. It's like, well, wait a minute, that team's not that good. How can it be that the team's not good and it's still the manager's fault? That doesn't make sense. But one thing we know about Gabe Kapler, as far as what's been reported, is he lets players police themselves a lot. So lets them take care of things. And there's been a lot of reporting that in that locker room lately, it hadn't been great, that there's kind of a
lack of leadership.
Yes. And so if you're the manager and you let the players police themselves, and you got Logan Webb going, there's no one policing us in here, then that comes back on the skipper.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what he's meant to be. I mean, it's great that you can be a player's coach and you can say hey, you guys, I want you guys to set the tone for each other. That's totally fine. But if it's not going well,
then you have to address that.
Yeah, that is your job. That is quite literally what you're there to be. I don't mean to demean the player, but you're meant to be the adult in the room. And sometimes you need to lay down the law. That's kind of what you got to do.
Yeah. And I would think, based on what we know here, you're right. It is a little bit of a surprise, but I would think ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I just won 107 games a couple years
ago. Right. And for them to, and it's just, I think it's surprising. And I'm surprised that it happened this soon too. I mean, I guess they've had a good amount of time from the slide where they've probably been considering this for a while, but the season's still, it's not completely done. The baseball, they could have done this a little bit later. I'm surprised that it happens just right now.
Pure speculation. I wonder if it was a deal where they said, Farhan, either he goes or you're both gone. So you tell us.
Right.
You want to get a new manager or you're out the door? It's up to you. It's your call. I wonder if
you could assume if that is what happened, you could see why Farhan.
And by the way, the message there to him is, if it don't work, you ain't going to be around long either.
Right.
Because I think his contract's up after next year.
But now are the Giants going to be in this situation where Farhan's going to bring in this new manager? And then, if they do let go of Farhan, is it one of those where the general manager is hired and then the manager, and then he's fired. And then, you're left with a lame duck.
Yeah. It's manager. A mess. It's funny how both things can be true. It's that team wasn't very good, but still, there was something wrong that goes beyond not having a lot of talent because they collapsed.
Yeah.
Because they were cruising along. Remember the deadline? We don't need any help.
Nope.
We're good.
Needed nothing.
Yeah. And right now they're behind San Diego. And, San Diego, that's one of the stories of the year, how terrible they were.
Yeah.
And they passed the Giants.
Do you think that this tells you anything about how the Giants are going to approach this offseason? Do you feel like this is a good sign for those who have been asking for them to maybe go out there and go some big fish hunting? Like, do you feel like that's maybe a sign towards that?
Yeah, I would guess that. I've heard that no matter what's been reported, that some of the players were making fun of him and things like that.
That's not great.
Yeah. So if that's the case, it's tough to sign free agents because what are free agents going to do? They're going to call guys they know on the team
and say, how's the locker room? Right. How's the clubhouse?
I want you to come here, but man. So maybe it would, but I can't see how. Maybe they didn't have a chance anyway. You have all this going on and the manager gets fired. That's not the type of environment that a Shohei Ohtani is going to go, I want to go there.
Oh, new manager? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, and your GM might be – oh, yeah.
And
let me sign up for that.
Totally collapse the last 2 or 3 months of the season? Yes. Where do I sign?
I mean, that sounds like what Shohei's used to. I don't know. Maybe he's like, that sounds familiar to what I'm used to, so I'll sign up for it again. I guess that's the only hope there. But it's I mean, man, just – I'm surprised that I'm
Gabe
just
Kapler fired.
I'm just really surprised that it happened that fast. I mean, Gabe Kapler just here and then gone.
There was just outrage. Giants fans were so upset and so dissatisfied. And it goes back to last year in the offseason. And then this year just exacerbated it. And look, for a while, like, okay, this is working. I guess they know what they're doing. But the way it ended up, they're in a worse place now than they were last offseason. And that was a bad place.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I've never seen Giants fans that upset, because in the past there were times when the Giants were bad, but then it was kind of, there was a resignation, like, man, this team's terrible. But the last couple of years it's been, they won 107 games and did nothing about it. And we deserve better than that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the ballpark as empty as what it's looked these past couple of weeks in a really long time. I mean, I've had friends that have bought tickets and been like, I was a couple rows back from behind the dugout and only paid $70. Like, I think that this was definitely the loudest in a long time that I've heard Giants fans be. I mean, it seemed like they were upset with everything. Obviously, Farhan's kind of had his name thrown out there a ton by fans, but it just felt like just the unsettlement of the crowd, of the fans, really. I mean, it seems like it got through. Like, I mean, if Giants fans were wondering if they were hearing, if their cries were being heard, I think that this is definitely a sign that
the customers finally were so loud that the team had to say, look,
something's got to change.
Yeah. On the the YouTube chat, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You want to give us a call or shoot us a text. On the YouTube chat, we have this from CK916. Bye, Gabe. I'm almost as surprised as I was to see how he managed to put on those 2 hoodies, 2 sizes too small every night. I don't think we need cheap personal attacks.
Come on now.
Who has just lost his job.
Come on. And we know it was very difficult. It had to have been.
Dwayne Baker says, and Giants fans laugh at the A's?
I mean,
the A's were more interesting than
they were more interesting this year.
Until now, this is actually pretty interesting because it's like, what are they going to do?
Definitely. I mean,
Giants were boring.
Yeah. And, to that point, Giants fans definitely like to act like they're above all of this drama. Like, typically, this franchise has been one that's, doesn't fall victim to this kind of drama and, all this stuff. And, to that point, it is, this is definitely showing that I think we're getting further and further away from those 2012, 2010, 2014 Giants. And we're pushing on 10 years now. And it feels like even, fans still feel like this team has a level of prestige that I'm not sure is there anymore.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but I do know there was an indication, a real serious and reliable indicator that something might happen. The last few weeks, if you've been watching Giants games, their announcers, Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow, and they're fabulous. They've been a little critical of some of the things going on the field, and they don't normally do that.
Yeah.
And when they do that, you know that, that's a bad sign for whoever's calling the shots on the field.
Right. Well, I mean, when you have to watch all the games, sometimes it's like you can only keep quiet for so long.
They're company men and they understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if they're doing that, there's a lot of dissatisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. And you can feel it.
Yeah, we'll see. Does this mean, okay, is he the problem? I doubt it. I think it goes deeper than that. So we'll see what they do this offseason.
Yes. And
Shohei probably heads to the Dodgers.
No, and that's really the worst part of it all. This could not have happened at a worse time, as felt like the Giants really did. I mean, if things would have gone a lot better this season, it feels like they could have had a route to being an intriguing place for Shohei to go. But obviously with how this season has gone, all that's out the window.
Yes. So that's today's breaking news. Gabe Kapler. And what's the term? He will not be back. So they're not. Yeah.
I mean, shout out Susan Sussler, who had this first. She put out there that she was hearing that the Giants will not be bringing back Gabe Kapler. Jeff Passan puts out Gabe Kapler is out as manager. Seems like everyone's hesitant to use the term fired.
Yeah.
But for all
dismissed.
Say dismissed. Okay. Okay. I love that. So so Gabe Kapler wasn't fired. This is like Step Brothers, where Will Ferrell's in the beginning. He's like, I wasn't fired. I was laid off. There's a difference. It's like, all right,
dismissed.
Whatever you want to say. The bigger point is Gabe Kapler is no longer working for the San Francisco
More details
Giants.
as they become available. They must have somebody in mind. I wonder who that would be. Coming up next, we'll get to the Kings. Kings, not a holiday destination. No, they have to be, Chris. I want them to be.
I think Sacramento is a holiday destination. I would say so.
That's next year with Watkins and Whitey on Sactown Sports.
Trying to find out where to catch your favorite team's games?
Are you a fan of the Kings?